The email from Quantum Dynamics sat in my inbox like a time bomb. 5 years after they rejected me, after Richard Bennett had personally told me I wasn't qualified enough to work for them, they were practically begging for a meeting. Subject: Urgent meeting request. Patent acquisition from Richard Bennett, CEO, Quantum Dynamics, to Dr. Sarah Anderson, Anderson Innovations. Dr. Anderson, your breakthrough in quantum computing architecture has caught our attention. Quantum Dynamics would like to discuss acquiring the patent rights. Given the revolutionary nature of your invention, we're prepared to offer substantial compensation. Please contact my office to arrange a meeting at your earliest convenience. Regards, Richard Bennett, CEO, Quantum Dynamics. I leaned back in my chair, remembering that day in Bennett's office. I'd been fresh out of MIT, my doctoral thesis on quantum computing still warm from the printer. Quantum Dynamics had been my dream company since undergrad, the industry leader in quantum computing development, the place where every serious researcher wanted to work. Your academic record is adequate, Bennett had said, barely glancing at my CV. But we're looking for people with more practical experience. Perhaps try a smaller company, something more suitable for your level. The way he'd said suitable made it clear what he really meant. I was a woman in a male-dominated field with ideas that challenged their traditional approaches. They wanted safe, conventional researchers who wouldn't rock the boat. Now, 5 years later, my inadequate ideas had revolutionized the entire industry. My quantum architecture design had solved the decoherence problem that had plagued quantum computing for decades. The patent was worth billions, and every major tech company was trying to get their hands on it, including Quantum Dynamics, who were watching their market share disappear as competitors lined up to license my technology. I opened my laptop and began typing a response. Mr. Bennett, thank you for your interest in my patent. I would be happy to discuss potential acquisition terms. However, I insist that all negotiations be conducted through my legal team until the final stages. I will have my assistant arrange a meeting for next week. Best regards, Dr. Sarah Anderson. I smiled as I hit send. Bennett had no idea who I really was. The name was the same, but he'd never connected Dr. Sarah Anderson, the revolutionary inventor he was desperate to meet, with the young woman he'd dismissed 5 years ago. My assistant, Maria, knocked on my office door. The lawyers are here for the pre-meeting briefing. I nodded, gathering my thoughts. The last 5 years hadn't been easy, but they'd been worth it. After Quantum Dynamics rejected me, I'd spent 6 months working out of my garage, surviving on ramen noodles and determination. Every penny of my savings went into research equipment. Other companies had shown interest in my initial designs, but they all wanted to water down my ideas, make them safer and more conventional. So I decided to do it myself. I took out loans, maxed out credit cards, and eventually found a few small investors who believed in my vision. The breakthrough came after 2 years of grueling work. I'd been staring at test results at 3 a.m. when I realized the solution wasn't in making quantum bits more stable. It was in creating an entirely new architecture that worked with their inherent instability. The prototype worked better than anyone had expected. Suddenly, those same companies that had rejected my ideas were calling nonstop. But I didn't license the patent right away. Instead, I started Anderson Innovations, developing practical applications for my technology. Now, 3 years later, we had working quantum computers that were revolutionizing everything from medical research to climate modeling. Our machines were smaller, more efficient, and more powerful than anything else on the market, and Quantum Dynamics was falling behind. The legal team was waiting in the conference room, 3 top patent attorneys and our chief negotiator. They'd helped me navigate the complex world of tech patents and corporate negotiations, protecting my interests when bigger companies tried to bully us. Dr. Anderson, James Chen, our lead attorney, greeted me. We've reviewed Quantum Dynamics' preliminary offer. They're starting at $2 billion for exclusive rights to the patent. I sat down at the head of the table. And what's the patent actually worth? Conservative estimates put it at $5 billion minimum, but that's just for the patent itself. If we factor in the practical applications and future developments, it's worth more than their entire company, Sarah Martinez, our negotiator, finished, which is why they're so desperate to acquire it. Their stock has dropped 30% since we announced our latest breakthrough. I nodded, thinking about the poetic justice of it all. The company that had deemed me unqualified was now facing obsolescence because of my innovations. "What's our strategy?" I asked. James spread out several documents. "We string them along. Make them think they have a chance at an exclusive license. Meanwhile, we continue negotiations with their competitors. The longer this plays out, the more desperate they'll become." "And Bennett? Will he be at the preliminary meetings?" Sarah checked her notes. "No, they're sending their head of R&D and legal team for the initial discussions. Bennett only gets involved in the final stages of major acquisitions." "Perfect. I wanted to save my revelation for just the right moment." "One more thing," I added. "Make sure all meetings are recorded. I want documentation of every word." The next week passed in a blur of preparations. Quantum dynamics representatives were suitably impressed by our headquarters, a modern glass and steel building in Silicon Valley, a far cry from my garage workshop days. They made all the right noises about synergy and mutual benefit, while their eyes betrayed their desperation. I watched the negotiations via closed-circuit TV from my office, letting our team handle the details. The quantum dynamics people kept dropping hints about wanting to meet the brilliant Dr. Anderson, but my team had strict instructions about maintaining my privacy. "Dr. Anderson prefers to focus on research," they would say. "She'll join us when the serious negotiations begin." Finally, after 2 weeks of preliminary discussions, Bennett himself requested a meeting. His email was less confident this time. "Dr. Anderson, our teams have made excellent progress, but I believe it's time for us to meet in person. Your innovations could be transformative for quantum dynamics. I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss our vision for the future directly. Regards, Richard Bennett." I read the email several times, savoring each word. Transformative was an understatement. My technology wouldn't transform quantum dynamics. It would save them from becoming obsolete. I drafted my response carefully. "Mr. Bennett, I agree it's time we met. Shall we say next Thursday, 2 p.m., at your office? I believe I remember the way. Best regards, Dr. Sarah Anderson." I sent the email, knowing the last line would puzzle him. Let him wonder about its meaning. In 1 week, he would understand exactly what he had missed 5 years ago. The weekend before the meeting, I visited my old garage workshop. I'd kept it as a reminder of where I'd started, though now it was cleaned up and served as a private lab for my personal projects. The desk where I'd had my breakthrough was still there, its surface scoured from countless coffee cups and late-night frustrations. Pinned to the wall was my rejection letter from quantum dynamics, framed not out of bitterness, but as motivation. Next to it hung the front page of Technology Today with the headline, "Anderson Innovations Revolutionizes Quantum Computing." As I stood there, surrounded by the memories of my struggle, I thought about all the other brilliant minds who had been dismissed, underestimated, or ignored because they didn't fit someone's preconception of what a genius should look like. This wasn't just about personal vindication anymore. It was about changing the way the industry worked, about proving that innovation could come from anywhere, from anyone. Thursday was approaching, and with it my chance to show Richard Bennett exactly what he had missed. But first, I had to prepare for a meeting that would change everything, not just for me, but for the future of quantum computing itself. Thursday morning dawned clear and bright. I stood in front of my closet, considering my options. Finally, I chose the exact same outfit I'd worn to my interview 5 years ago, a charcoal gray suit and blue silk blouse. But this time, I added my doctoral hood and the gold pin I'd received for winning the National Science Foundation's Innovation Award. "The car's ready, Dr. Anderson," Maria announced through the intercom. "And the legal team has arrived at Quantum Dynamics for the preliminary meeting." I checked my reflection one last time. Gone was the nervous young graduate with something to prove. In her place stood a successful CEO who had already proven everything. Quantum Dynamics headquarters hadn't changed much, still all glass and chrome, designed to impress. The security guard at the desk did a double take when I gave my name. "Dr. Sarah Anderson, they're expecting you in the main conference room." He paused. "Have you been here before?" "Once," I smiled. "A long time ago." The elevator ride to the executive floor brought back memories. I'd been so hopeful that day, clutching my portfolio of ideas that would later revolutionize the industry. Now those same ideas were worth billions. Bennett's assistant jumped up when I entered the waiting area. "Dr. Anderson, Mr. Bennett is just finishing up a call. Can I get you anything while you wait? No, thank you. I sat down, noting that it was the same chair I'd waited in 5 years ago. Back then, I'd waited 45 minutes while Bennett deliberately made me sweat. Today, I barely sat down when his office door flew open. Dr. Anderson, please come in. Bennett's voice boomed with practiced enthusiasm. He looked older than I remembered, more gray in his hair, more lines around his eyes. The stress of watching his company fall behind must be taking its toll. I walked into his office, taking in the familiar details, the same pretentious modern art on the walls, the same oversized desk designed to make visitors feel small, the same view of Silicon Valley sprawling below. Bennett extended his hand, then froze as recognition slowly dawned on his face. You? His confident smile faltered. You're? Sarah Anderson. I finished for him, keeping my voice pleasant. We met 5 years ago, right here in this office. Though back then, you said I wasn't qualified enough for quantum dynamics. He sank into his chair, his face ashen. Things were different then. Yes, they were. I sat down across from him, smoothing my skirt. But let's not dwell on the past. You wanted to discuss acquiring my patent. He tried to recover his composure, shuffling papers on his desk. Yes, of course. Our initial offer is inadequate. I cut him off. $2 billion for a technology that's already generated $5 billion in licensing fees. That's not even counting the practical applications we're developing at Anderson Innovations. We could revise the offer, he said quickly, perhaps discuss a partnership arrangement. I pulled out my tablet and placed it on his desk. Actually, I have a counter-proposal, one that might interest you more than our patent. He leaned forward eagerly. Yes. Anderson Innovations is preparing to launch a new quantum processor next month. It's 50 times faster than anything currently on the market, including your best machines. I paused, letting that sink in. We're also developing quantum-based solutions for artificial intelligence, cryptography, and medical imaging. That's impressive, he managed. The patent you want to buy? That was just the beginning. We have a dozen more breakthrough technologies in development. I met his eyes steadily. Quantum dynamics is falling behind, Mr. Bennett. Your stock price reflects that. You need more than just our current patent. You need our innovation pipeline. He wiped his forehead with a monogrammed handkerchief. What exactly are you proposing? A merger. I slid a document across his desk, but not the kind you're thinking of. Anderson Innovations would acquire Quantum Dynamics. You become a division of our company. The silence that followed was deafening. Bennett stared at the document like it might bite him. This is impossible, he finally sputtered. We're still one of the largest quantum computing companies in the world. For now, I agreed. But in 6 months? A year? Your market share is dropping weekly. Your best researchers are leaving for companies that have licensed our technology. You're facing obsolescence, Mr. Bennett. He slumped in his chair, the truth of my words hitting home. And if we refuse? Then we'll continue licensing our technology to your competitors. We'll keep developing new innovations, and quantum dynamics will keep falling further behind. I stood up. You have 24 hours to make a decision. As I turned to leave, he called out, Wait. Why are you doing this? Is it because of what happened 5 years ago? I paused at the door. No, Mr. Bennett. This isn't about revenge. It's about the future of quantum computing. Your company has brilliant researchers, excellent facilities, and decades of experience. But you're held back by old thinking, by leaders who can't recognize innovation when it's sitting right in front of them. I walked out, leaving him with the merger proposal and his thoughts. The next day, Quantum Dynamics' board of directors voted to accept our offer. The business media called it the tech acquisition of the decade. Quantum Computing David acquires Goliath, read the headlines. 3 months later, I stood in Quantum Dynamics' main research lab, now part of Anderson Innovations, addressing the combined research teams. The old barriers between departments are gone, I announced. No more traditional hierarchies, no more dismissing ideas because they seem too radical. From now on, we evaluate proposals based on merit, not on who presents them. In the back of the room, I spotted a young researcher, fresh out of graduate school, clutching a folder of ideas. She reminded me of myself 5 years ago. After the meeting, I stopped by her desk. Tell me about your research, I said. Her eyes lit up as she explained her theories about quantum entanglement. Her ideas were unconventional, challenging accepted principles, just the kind of thinking quantum dynamics would have rejected in the past. Have you shown these to anyone? I asked. She shook her head. I was told they were too experimental, that I should focus on more established approaches. I thought about my old garage workshop, about late nights spent proving everyone wrong. Would you like to lead a research team exploring these theories? Her jaw dropped. Really? But I'm not. I just started. Sometimes, I said, smiling, the best innovations come from people who haven't been told what's impossible. Later that day, I visited Bennett's old office, my office now. The pretentious art was gone, replaced by whiteboards covered in equations. The oversized desk had been donated, making room for a collaborative workspace where researchers could share ideas. On one wall hung 2 framed documents, my old rejection letter from quantum dynamics and the signed merger agreement that had transformed both companies. Between them was a new plaque with Anderson Innovation's motto, "Innovation knows no boundaries." My assistant buzzed through. Dr. Mitchell from MIT is on the line. She says she has a student you might want to meet, someone with unusual ideas about quantum gravity. I smiled, thinking about cycles and second chances. Set up the meeting. And Maria? Make sure they know we're always interested in unconventional thinking. The quantum computing industry had changed forever, not just because of our technology, but because we'd proven that true innovation can come from anywhere, even from someone who wasn't qualified enough. And somewhere in Silicon Valley, in a cleaned-up garage workshop, a framed magazine cover still hangs on the wall, reminding me that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about changing the game entirely.